Good afternoon. Well, the road to presidency has been anything but smooth so far. Questions over the impartialities of the nominees. Christine Kangaloo, will she take the ballotage to the president's office? Or senior counsel Israel Khan, how much will he praise the rising sun? The curtain is closing on who our seventh president will be as the Electoral College meets in just under an hour.
That's right. I'm Kijan Haynes, and this is Bhavita Gopal Chan. And join us for the next half hour or so as we go into the nomination and the voting for the next president. That's right. In about 2 hours' time, we will know who this country's next president is. It's an historic occasion in any way you look at it. Kangaloo or Khan will join an elite group of people who can say that they've held this nation's highest office. Now, the last time we chose a president, Paula May Weeks was unopposed. And the time before that, so was Anthony Carmona. So it's been quite some time, not since Max Richards' first term back in 2003, that we've had a face-off.
Well, from the roles and functions of the president's office to an analysis of the nominees before us, we now join our panel. Now, political analyst Dr. Bishnu Raghunath, I understand he'll be joining us in a bit, but so far we have attorneys at law, Martin George, as well as Jonathan Bagan. Now,
who's in studio with us. And we'll also have Akash Samaru, who's outside of the parliament. And as you can imagine, there is already excitement building on the steps of the Red House.
Now, we've heard so much on this matter already, but it's something we're hoping to dig even deeper into. Well, shortly, as we've told you before, the Electoral College will convene. Before we get into that, into your expectations, Mr. George, as well as Mr. Bagan, of what may happen this afternoon, let's first remind our viewers, it's very important that we remind you who makes up the Electoral College. Well, all members of the Senate and the House of Representatives. They are presided over by the Speaker of the House, Bridget Anisette George.
All right, so let's get straight into our conversation. The last time the Electoral College would have met, it would have been in 2021 in another historic meeting. And that was the first time this country went to get rid of a president. Now, usually this choosing a president is a very calm, austere moment. But with this current opposition, that's not something that happens all the time. So I'm going to throw the question out first to my in-studio guest, Jonathan. What do you think the next hour or two is going to look like? Do you expect a clear sitting where everything just follows the rules, or do we expect that chaos that we saw back in October 2021?
Well, I believe the government has a majority in the Electoral College, so it'll be a smooth transition for the government's candidate. So I don't see...
What about the type of debate we can expect coming on?
Well, the UNC's quality of debate has always been very heated, which I believe, a lot of these people have their PhD and are lawyers and whatnot, so they know how to speak like educated people, but they speak to the layman to cause bacchanal and, to have viewership.
And I'll throw that question out to you, Mr. George. How do you think it's going to go? Are we going to have some decorum in the House?
Well, I'm going to start by making a prediction. And I can guarantee you that by the end of today, we will have a president whose surname starts with K. So that's a guarantee I'm giving to the nation.
That's what horoscopes sound like?
Separate and apart from that, there's the fact that, both candidates, they, of course, possess their, acumen, and they have the pedigree that, would have established their careers over the years. However, the practical reality is that, the way the Electoral College is comprised and the numbers are in favor of the government, and once the government members stick together and close ranks, I can hardly see any other outcome other than the government's nominee being appointed. And of course, we have to recognize that when you hear persons, making objections to say, well, Ms. Kangaloo has been a member of parliament, she has been an active politician. If you recall, I had mentioned quite some time ago, and, I think the Prime Minister himself also repeated it, the fact that Section 24 of the Constitution under which we operate, Section 24 seems to specifically envisage the possibility of a member of parliament or a member of the Senate becoming president or being elected as president. So therefore, once you have that constitutionally enshrined, we have to understand that there's really no legal basis for saying that Ms. Kangaloo cannot aspire to the post or be appointed to the post. The question then pivots to the issue of the moral, ethical aspect of it. In other words, is it the best thing for the nation to have a candidate who has been mired in a political party for so many years?
Mr.
And
George,
of course, that moral ethical dilemma is what the government will have to resolve. But of course, they have maintained their candidate. So clearly they are showing that Basdeo Pandey, former Prime Minister, was quite right when he always said politics has a morality of its own.
That's definitely right. And that leads me straight into this question. I mean, Ms. Kangaloo has had her political hat on for more than 20 years. The question is whether she can just simply fling it off when or if she assumes the highest office in this land. I mean, she's acted as president in the past on several occasions, but I mean, this time it's different.
It certainly is. And I mean, I would assume that being president, she would not want to fling the hat off. She may take it off very politely and delicately and put it aside somewhere where it's out of reach, at least for the next 5 years if she is appointed as president. And I think given the run-up to this present election, I think that she would be even more acutely aware of the public sentiment and sensitivities in the matter. And I would want to hope that she would more than be able to rise to the occasion to show that level of impartiality. I have said before, and it's more important for us to understand, the person who occupies the office of president has to be the one to make that role, viable, livable, and connectable to the population. If you remember, former First Lady Zalia Hassan Ali, she had been so active in her role as First Lady. She was not even president, but she was so active in her role. And even her husband, President Noor Hassan Ali, he lived as an example and an exemplar. You remember former President Ellis Clark, the way he lived that role. And that's the challenge that, whoever is nominated today, that's the challenge that they have to ensure that you assume that presidential role and you are president.
But do we still even want that presidential role? We've been having everybody saying that it's just a ceremonial post and people aren't connecting, the president isn't connecting with the public. Do we even want that anymore? Do you want somebody grassroots? Israel Khan, I mean, we keep talking, Israel Khan himself has said he has you'll pardon my French, it's his words, snowball's chance in hell of getting the nomination. But we keep talking about as if it's a foregone conclusion for Ms. Kangaloo. So Jonathan, I want to bring you in. Do you think that is let's say what the person of Israel Khan, what does that Israel Khan presidency look like to you? And is it the kind of president that we need? Someone who won't hold back, somebody who will say what he has to say.
Well, Israel Khan did teach me in law school, and I'm friends with his son. So,
are you biased? Are you?
I wouldn't say I'm biased. I admire the man, but I would say a president has to be a bit more diplomatic than Israel Khan. But my position is that I don't like the office of president at all to begin with. So.
Where do you see, well, let's toss that same question back that we talked about earlier. Where do you see Christine Kangaloo in all of this?
Well, I believe she's a very accomplished bureaucrat, very good at her job, very good at the ceremonial bureaucracy that is associated with the office of president. But my philosophical position on this issue is that of Diogenes. Diogenes was a contemporary of Plato. And he was known for insulting Alexander the Great because he just didn't care. He found a lot of these ceremonial offices were pointless and didn't affect the common man in the street.
But that's what you want? You want a president like that or you want to be the person who attacks the president?
Well, I would say Christ said that he who must be greatest of all must be servant of all. So what if we had a president who used to wash the feet of the vagrants and get them out of poverty in the street? Why can't we have a leader like that?
But what would be the benefit of a leader like that? And I could toss that to you, Mr. George, as well. What would be the benefit of a president who walks the streets of Port of Spain?
Making earlier, that the person has to make the role. So in other words, it's up to you. I mean, of course, yes, on paper, it appears mainly to be ceremonial, but you can now make that role something that is relatable and connectable to the people. You could now use it to spearhead so many causes. You could, like have green initiatives to, make sure that you push that kind of, eco consciousness. You could have like maybe a special foundation set up to deal with, special needs children,
Mr.
that kind of
George,
thing. So therefore, you show you are a president for all.
We're going to have to cut you for a minute here. As we've told you, in about 34 minutes, the Electoral College will be meeting. We have Akash Samaru on standby. He's outside the Parliament right now, and I understand it's pouring, it's raining. Akash, what's happening across there?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Well, while the numbers in the Red House will most likely select Christine Kangaloo as the next president of this country, if you took a poll out here, you'll probably get the opposite result. Now, bear in mind, these are UNC supporters that are protesting against the nomination and possible election of Kangaloo. How I know they're UNC supporters, it's not an assumption, it's fact. They are there with UNC MPs, they are there with UNC councillors. In fact, there's a UNC councillor there with a kangaroo's head or the mask of a kangaroo on a stick. And that led to some confusion when we came, because at first we thought they were shouting no to Kangaloo, but they were actually shouting no to kangaroo, and they were kind of changing it to Kangaloo, kangaroo. But that's been the general chant right now. And listen to this. That's because they're booing PNM parliamentarians, and that's another indication that, it's UNC supporters out there. We're still awaiting the arrival of the opposition leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. We saw Dr. Rudal Munilal go in. We saw the opposition chief whip. I did speak with Mr. David Lee, and I asked him, sir, do you think you're walking into a losing battle? And he said, quite simply, we don't have the numbers, but he said it's what counts out here, the people out here, that's what matters most. So it's been a general protest out here. It's happened since before we arrived. It's going on about, let's say, about 40 minutes now. The rain has dampened it a bit, and everyone is seeking a refuge in Woodford Square there. But yeah, we are seeing the signs. Rowley must go, PNM Kangaroo Presidency. But I guess it doesn't matter what they say out here. It's the ballots cast in there that's going to count within the next hour. I'm going to have to wrap this up. Akash Samaru, CNC3, outside the Parliament, soaking wet.
Akash, thank you so much, and get dry. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
I would give anything to have you with me forever. I don't want you to be separated from me.
Mother, forgive me for interrupting this lovely moment, but then I have to take him back to his mother now.
Triumph of Love,
All right.
preempted due to the special airing of America's Got Talent All-Stars. Tune in for new episodes this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. only on CNC3. Watch Balika Badu. New episodes weekdays from 5:30 p.m. Repeat 12:15 p.m. weekly at Marathon Sunday at 11 a.m. only on CNC3. America's Got Talent, All-Stars Edition, live on Mondays at 9 p.m. on CNC3. Catch the first 3 episodes this week. Episode 1, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Episode 2, Thursday at 8 p.m. And Episode 3, Friday at 8:30 p.m. The best entertainment is on CNC3. Make sure you have yourself a great investment week by viewing The Bourse Report every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. during CNC3's The Morning Brew. You'll get sound financial advice, whether you're a new or experienced investor, when you view The Bourse Report. CNC3, covering your world. What's the #1 TV station in TNT? CNC3 is the #1 station. CNC3's hit soap, La Liga Badu, is still the #1 show at 6 p.m., beating all others at that time slot. And Triumph of Love is the most watched soap at 8 p.m. The CNC3 7 p.m. news is the most viewed newscast weekdays and on weekends. You trust our team of anchors, reporters, and cameramen to bring you the latest, most accurate reports to your preferred device. CNC3 is the most viewed TV channel with the largest audience market share. Get your products and services seen by the largest viewership in TNT on CNC3, the #1 station.
Name something you might need 2 of if you're cheating on your spouse.
2 man parts. She go bobbing on me. It's, you know.
Oh, she gonna rain a bobbing on you. You gonna need that other one. Okay.
Don't miss
Well,
Family
no,
Feud.
the Chris ain't
New
cheating.
episodes
There you go.
weekdays from 6:30
2-man
p.m.
parts.
Marathon repeat weekly at 8:30 a.m. Saturdays at 8:45 a.m. and Sunday at 9 a.m. Only on CNC3.
Welcome back. You're watching CNC3 here. I'm with Kijan, and let's jump straight back into the discussion. Well, each year in the annual budget, there's a multi-million-dollar allocation for the office of the president. Now, with a 7th president coming in and debate over the relevance of the office to this country, well, we now take a look at what a president is actually costing you, the taxpayer.
Citizens often feel like they're in the dark about what the office of the presidency in this country entails, from its functions to its finances. Now, as the Electoral College votes for TNT's 7th president, here's a look at the price tag of the presidency. Let's start with the president's salary. According to the 98th report of the Salaries Review Commission, the president works for $64,270. The sitting president is also allowed $9,650 per month as a duty allowance. And while the president has an official residence, according to the SRC, where the official residence is not available for the use by the president and suitable alternative accommodation is not provided, an allowance of $28,000 is given every month. The presidency is exempted from taxes. This especially applied to President Paula May Weeks, who used the official residence for only official use. A president is also allowed 60 calendar days vacation leave per annum and is entitled to passages to the maximum value of 2 adult first-class tickets to the United Kingdom. While traveling, the president gets a subsistence allowance of US $150 per day. They are also entitled to a warm clothing allowance of US $900 each year. The fleet of vehicles which transports the president is fully maintained by the state and manned by a complement of chauffeurs. The president is also entitled to medical attention or treatment and prescribed drugs for themselves, their spouse and children who are unmarried and under the age of 18 at any healthcare facility under the regional health authorities. If the care is not available, the state will cover the expenses where necessary. Additionally, the costs of transportation, entertainment, internet access and telephone expenses, as well as medical expenses are all covered by the state. In the last budget presentation, the government estimated $19 million for running the office of the presidency in this fiscal year, a year in which the office comes under the microscope once more.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Now, that figure is apart from what the office of the president will be allocated by a central government. I am joined now by Dr. Bishnu Raghunath, who is a political analyst, and we want to bring him into the discussion. Dr. Raghunath, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we've heard it since we've heard from the government who its nominee is, Christine Kangaloo. The question now arises, can the state, or can we citizens continue to, or should we continue to spend such exorbitant amount of money on a president? Want to get your take on this?
Well, clearly, good afternoon to your viewers. Clearly, once we are going to continue with the presidency and within the context of the constitution that we have right now, the Republican Constitution, there is an office for the president and we have to fund the office. So whether we like it or not, we have to continue to fund the office until such time as we amend the Constitution, and if we decide to remove the office of the presidency, well then that, so be it. But until that time, yes, and the terms that we have for the president as at this point in time, we will have to continue to maintain it. In the context of whether we get in value for money, that's a whole different question altogether. And that is something that we really have to get into a real discussion. Not now, we cannot change anything right now, but we can get into that discussion. And during the course of this presidency, if we wanted to deal with some of those issues, I think it is only at that point in time we will deal with it.
But we can have at least part of that discussion today, and I know Jonathan has a lot of thoughts about this. We were talking about it before the show began. You have a problem with how much is spent, and you raised the issue, of course, of the pension.
Yes, apparently the pension will be $1.4 million a year, and I find that exorbitant.
But you can't have another job after that. So, I mean, you can't become president and then go and work in a bank. So wouldn't that be commensurate with the kind of job that you have, the highest office in the land? Should they not be paid for that?
Why can't you have a lower pension, like $700,000 with medical expenses covered, or $500,000? $1.4 million is a huge sum of money.
So basically, you're leaning into the side of the debate that whether we're getting value for money.
I don't believe we're getting value for money, and I believe that we need an amended constitution. I believe that I like the Bill of Rights in this constitution. The rest of it doesn't seem to be serving the people. And remember, if you look at the social contract theory of how a government is supposed to work, I believe that is John Locke. The office of the president and the parliament gets its authority from the people. It's not that these people have divine right to rule us. We put them there so we could change it.
Before we get into the process, now I'm sure you all would recall the interview with Paula May Weeks on Tobago Channel earlier this weekend. She indicated that the roles and the functions of the president, people are very much not aware of those. And she made that in the context also that during her time as president, a lot of people would have been writing to her seeking funding, and they're very much not aware of the amount of money the office of the president is allocated.
Is that a problem of the role of the president or the role of our social studies teachers? But I'll throw that question to our panelists. Mr. George, we're talking money right now and whether or not we're getting value for money from the presidency. In your view, what would value for money look like in the office of the president?
Well, I would think that just starting off with what you indicated, and I mean, I'm just relying on what you say in relation to that interview with the President Paula May Weeks on the Tobago Channel. If it is that she says that people are not, fully conversant with the role of the president and all the things that the president has to do, then the question, I think, quite rightfully and respectfully would be, what did she do to try to enlighten persons on that role, and how did she try to live up to that role and show the public exactly what that role is? And I mean, I'm just asking this, just politely and respectfully, because I would think that that would be the best way to show people what the roles and functions are, and we must always remember the 1936 Privy Council decision of Ambard versus Attorney General, where Lord Atkins said that, justice must not be a cloistered virtue. She must be allowed to suffer the scrutiny of the respectful, though outspoken comments of ordinary citizens. And I think that that's something that we ought to ensure that our leaders, not just the president, but all our leaders understand and ascribe to. And I think it dovetails perfectly with what Jonathan is trying to suggest in terms of, being accountable to the people and having that certain level of, responsibility for your actions to the public.
Before we toss to a break, it's funny that we're having this discussion now because she did say she tried her very best to get the office of the president to be as public as possible, but she's had some setback. What that setback looks
exactly.
like.
How hard did she try? And we never know unless we see it being done.
Your best litmus test for that would be the reactions of the public. And I think she ought to, use that as her gauge and look and see what has been the public's reaction. Has the public recognized or accepted that she has really done that? That's the question.
All right.
All right.
Take one more quick break and we'll be right back. It's almost time to pick a president.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
Crop top here. Before you put on that, you're trying to get a sting.
So if I'm panicking, what to do? Run down the hill and jump in the car?
No. If you're in April and you feel like you're going to panic, you just need to stay calm. Because you might not react the same way somebody else might. Somebody may be panicked. The bees may be a little bit much for them. In that instance, they may step back and they may...
America's Got Talent, All-Stars Edition, live on Mondays at 9 p.m. on CNC3. Catch the first 3 episodes this week. Episode 1, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Episode 2, Thursday at 8 p.m. And Episode 3, Friday at 8:30 p.m. The best entertainment is on CNC3.
I would give anything to have you with me forever. I don't want you to be separated from me.
Mother, forgive me for interrupting this lovely moment, but then I have to take him back to his mother now.
Triumph of Love,
All right.
preempted due to the special airing of America's Got Talent All-Stars. Tune in for new episodes this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. only on CNC3.
Welcome back to The Road to the Presidency right here on CNC3 and Bavita Gopalchan. And this is my co-host, Keishan Haynes. Well, right before we toss to the break, you heard from Martin George saying that, it's an interesting perspective of what the people think about the office of the president and, in fact, the performance of Paula May Weeks as well. I have Carissa Lee, who's going to be joining us now. She is going to be bringing to light some of those comments.
Social media comments.
Yeah, and concerns as well. Carissa?
Thanks, Bavita. Now, while the Electoral College has the power to vote for a new president, the voice of the people cannot be ignored. And there's no shortage of opinion on social media. Narissa said, life as a president was sweet, and you hardly do any work. Arun agrees. Dolly expanded on that comment. She said there's no need for a president at all. While Laurie said the president is only there to complete certain tasks. She said, and I quote, guess anyone that have a nice way of putting over words could be president, because that's all they do, talk. Now, both Kevin and Manohar believe that this country should have an executive president, which will give the head of the state the authority over the governance of this country. Now, there were many more similar views posted to social media on this topic as we look forward to today's vote for the nation's 7th president of the republic. Bavita?
Thank you so much, Chris Lee. Some interesting perspective there. And we're hearing about this in the context, according to the incumbent president, that people just don't understand the roles and the functions of the president.
It's not that hard, though.
Is it?
She signs bills into law. And nominates people to certain positions, independent senators and public service commissions. And am I missing out anything, Dr. Raghunath? What is it that
is there more to it?
Yeah, what is it that else that the president does, and why is it so hard?
Because
for
I'm
people
sure
to
if you go
understand
through our job scope, people will be like, we really don't work that hard. But when you get into the actual work,
people in the office think so, you know. But Dr. Raghunath, let me ask, what are we missing? So sign bills into law, make appointments to the Senate, and then make appointments to certain commissions.
And those functions, you must admit, are critical functions for the democracy and the governance of our society. In the context of making appointments and so forth, the 9 independent senators are critical persons in the parliament and how the parliament will function. We've seen it in 2 instances in the last few years, where in one instance, the independent senators supported the government in getting a particular piece of legislation passed with a special majority. That's the procurement legislation. And then in the other instance, where the independent senators voted against the government bail bill, thus ensuring that it did not pass. So in that context, those independent senators are critical for good governance in our society. Now, the other appointments, those independent senators, remember, the president makes those appointments on his or her own accord. No consultation required, no discussion. In the other instances, the president is required to consult with the leader of the opposition as well as the prime minister. And in those regards, consultation in this particular case, again, could simply be, this is my recommendation as president. What do you think? And whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, the final decision rests with the president. So clearly, a lot of those positions, a lot of power is in the hands of the president. The Elections and Boundaries Commission are critical. The Integrity Commission, critical. The Ombudsman, again, all of these positions are made and offices are made by the president. Now, earlier last night I was doing a show with some of the young people I was told said, all it is do with the president is cut out once every time for Independence Day.
and that's it.
That's it.
Who's failing us? Who's failing us with introducing this? Is it from the schools? Is it us in the media? We'll be taking blame for everything. Is it the president himself?
And Mr. George made a critical point earlier. We've criticized the precedent which was set when President Robinson was ascended to the office of presidency. But bear in mind that Mr. Robinson was one of those persons who forced us, when he had refused to abide by some of the recommendations and nominations of Prime Minister Pandey, he forced us to go and learn our constitution and read our constitution. And that is what a president should be doing. That is what a president... I've also heard the criticism when the young ladies were killed 2 years ago or so, and the president said nothing about it, and the whole country was in uproar. And the president said nothing about it, and she waited till Women's Day or something like that, International Women's Day, to make a subtle statement that, we have to protect our women and so on. And this is where people are saying, but wait a minute, this president is not one of us. She's one of, that elite who couldn't care less about us and only makes a speech at Independence Day and Republic Day and New Year's Day and on one of those special occasions. But she doesn't align herself with us. And that is where, notwithstanding that she had referred to herself as Auntie Tanti didn't give good advice. And Auntie Tanti did not associate with the public. This is what I am hoping that the new president, notwithstanding if we talk about political affiliations and so on, that the new president will take it upon herself, notice I say herself at this point in time, take it upon herself to ensure that these are the things that happen during this term of the office of the presidency.
You know, Dr. Raghunath, you raise a very important point that the president is important for our democracy, and we can't discount that. But I want to repose Kishan's question here. Who's failing in ensuring that the roles and the functions and highlighting the issues of the country and the state, the office of the president, who is failing in that regard in terms of, in the context of the office of the president? And I want to ask this to Mr. George.
Well, the thing is, Babita, I think it pivots back to what I had adverted to earlier when I said that the individual also has to live the role of the office, and the individual has to make it real and connectable.
Once we have that out there, because Kishan is right, the media gets blamed for everything.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, you have to now make sure that the people can see that you are functioning and that you are, as Dr. Raghunath mentioned, even if it's important issues, you are, coming out, you are making a statement, you are showing support, you are showing that sort of empathy, rather than you appear to be, you're sitting imperiously, in your ivory tower, isolated, there, and you are, ruling by decree, from time to time in what is sometimes referred to as a splendid isolation. And that's the difference. And that's why I'm saying that it depends a lot upon how the person or the personage, deals with it and how they now make it relevant to the public. I think there's a whole lot that you can do as president to show that level of leadership. You are also leader of the armed forces. There are so many causes that you can take up. And once you lend your name to these things, it breathes a new life into them. There's so many social issues that can be tackled, that can be dealt with. And you can do so without at all entering into the partisan fray of our combative politics. You can do so in a way that provides leadership and guidance to the nation, so that at the end of your tenure, people will say, well, yes, we really had a good leader as a president.
I'd just like to add a point. So if you were to contrast the outgoing president to Queen Elizabeth II, Queen Elizabeth had probably dozens or maybe hundreds of different programs. I was a beneficiary of a scholarship. I did an online course at Cambridge, and I'm about 500 Trinidadians. There's so many activities that could be done with minimal funding, or just partner with the university and say, now we have this scholarship.
Just lending your name to it gives it credibility and credence, and people will then show their support behind it. Right. So there's so much that can be done, and I'm hoping that this discussion helps to spark that type of initiative, so that people can understand that, look, when you are in this role and in this office, it's not just a question of and that public perception seems deeply rooted. If you saw the comments from Carissa, it seems deeply rooted that the general public feels, well, look, this is just mainly ceremonial and just largely a waste of time.
Can I put everybody on the spot, and I'll give you a second to think about it. We've had all of these complaints about the at least one nominee, Ms. Christine Kangaloo, saying that she's a PNM and she's too entrenched. In what I'm not hearing anybody saying, you've all given the criteria, you all have given everybody what you think. Give me a name. In a perfect world, if you had to give a name of somebody who would be president, I'll even make it easier for you, dead or alive Trinidadian, who would be your ideal president to take over this role? I will let anybody think of that, because I'm sure, Jonathan, you want to go first.
Afra Raymond.
Afra Raymond for president?
Yes, because he would fight corruption in the office of president, and he is actually fairly independent.
Fairly independent.
He is not a PNM or UNC, so in that respect.
How would a president fight corruption?
Well, he could advocate for things like the fact that the procurement bill has not been operationalized, even though it's assented to. Multiple things. The general moral and ethical rule of providing moral leadership for the country, managing the country, that we are supposed to be good to one another and not rob the public purse regularly. Maybe that might make a difference.
All right. You have any names, Mr. George or Dr.
Well, you
Abhinav?
see, you would need someone who has demonstrated a pattern of independent fearlessness, objectivity.
But is there a name? Is there a name to that someone? Yourself?
Well, yes. So
okay, all right. Go ahead.
I'm getting
Oh, yeah,
there.
That's all right.
Non-partisan in their approaches to things, and someone who has commanded that respect of persons over the years. So therefore, you think of, that would be someone in the line of, say, for instance, like if you did mention that we could, include persons who have passed on. So you think of somebody like a Dana Sita Hall,
okay.
all right? You think of somebody like a Terence Farrell. You think of somebody like a Martin Daly. That's the kind of independent, robust intellectualism and dedication to country and loyalty to Trinidad and Tobago that you would want to see. And I mean, these are just a few examples off the top of my head, that I mention in here, but it's those characteristics that you look for, and then you start with those choices. And I think then you'll get the public support much more than if you were to go down the partisan political road.
Doctor, you?
Well, I think Mr. George called out Martin Daly. He's one of those persons who fearlessly have kept on writing and showing that he has an interest for Trinidad and Tobago. Part of Trinidad and Tobago, part of the culture, part of everything in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's what we want. And more importantly, that he's willing to speak out and speak his mind when it comes on issues. Now, when, for instance, I think Mr. Bagan would have said Afra Raymond, Afra is one of those who will speak out his mind and has been critical about the government and how the government manages their various functions. Now,
but being critical won't help you in this case because of how we choose a president.
Right.
That's the issue.
Those are some of the issues that you need now to look at and see who you will nominate as a president. You don't want somebody who will simply be a rubber stamp to whether the prime minister or the leader of the opposition. You don't want that.
We understand that the opposition leader has arrived at the Red House there. You see, she is greeting supporters. And according to Akash, it seems to be almost every constituency, supporters from almost every constituency out in their numbers, and they are raising objection to Christine Kangaloo, who, according to Akash, their placards referring to as kangaroo. I understand the opposition leader is.
Let's listen in.
Thank you all for being here, and it's heartwarming to see people still stand for what is right and for democracy in our country. And you asked me, we'll fight till the end. Today, do what you think is best for the country. Put country first and put your own biases or your own inclinations aside. Whichever way it goes, we will not stop fighting.
And whatever the outcome, the opposition is ready to support whichever head of state?
No. The opposition will keep the head of state to account, whichever one it may be, as we'll keep all the institutions to account for transparency. Thank you all. Happy New Year, by the way. Goodbye.
Thank you. Okay, take care.
Interesting. I wonder I think what's happening outside, whether or not it will have an impact on what happens inside.
That's sort of loud. But what I think is really important, what she said there is that, follow your conscience. It's a reminder that the vote is secret. There is a secret ballot that happens. So we've all been saying, well, it's a foregone conclusion because the government has the votes. Correct. We've also seen the Prime Minister himself admitting that he voted against his own party when he had his opportunity to have a secret ballot. So let's talk about I want to talk about how we choose a president. There has been a conversation about whether or not the people should choose the president, in that you Now, we have to decide how you put forward the nominees, whether someone is nominated or someone nominates themselves, like if you're going up for Prime Minister. But then, should the people be able to vote for the president? I want to start with Jonathan, and I'll toss to our other two guests. So should the people vote for the president?
I would say, Kijan, that is a better system than what we have now. At least, say, we could have a situation where we'd have a slate of candidates. Afra and Martin Daly could go up and say, this is our platform. And we could actually have the population choosing what they want.
I'll give the last two guests, Mr. George, we're about to start. So very quickly, should the people be able to vote for the president?
If that's the case, then I would certainly want one of the options on that ballot paper to be for the people to vote whether we have a president at all. So in other words, there should be a section saying no president, because based upon the feeling and feedback of the people, I think that will be the majority vote, and that will win the fight every time.
Thanks, Mr. George. And we give you the last word. It's literally yes or no. Should the people be able to vote for the president? Dr. Bhaganath?
As at this point in time, the Constitution tells us no, and we have to go with what the Constitution tells us.
And that's where we have to end it right now. Thanks on behalf of Bhavita and myself. Thanks for joining us, and we take you straight to the Parliament channel. We'll be here from gavel to gavel. Thanks for staying with us here on CNC3.
Against the letters of accreditation signed by the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House. Madam Clerk.
Sir George. Mrs. Camille Robinson-Regis. Present. Dr. Keith Rowley.
Present.
Mr. Coleman Bear.
Present.
Mr. Stuart Young.
Here.
Mr. Fitzgerald Hines.
Present.
Mr. Terence Dayal Singh.
Present.
Mr. Faris Alwari.
Present.
Ms. Penelope Beckles.
Present.
Mrs. Ayana Webster Roy.
Present.
Ms. Shamfa Kujo.
Present.
Dr. Nian Gats Vidoli.
Present.
Mr. Marvin Gonzalez.
Present.
Mr. Stephen McClatchy.
Present.
Mr. Foster Cummings.
Present.
Mr. Esmond Ford.
Present.
Mr. Simon de Nobrega.
Present.
Mr. Adrian Leons.
Present.
Mr. Brian Manning. Mrs. Lisa Morris Julian.
Present.
Mr. Keith Scotland.
Present.
Mr. Kennedy Richards.
Present.
Mr. Roger Monroe.
Present.
Mr. David Lee.
Present.
Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa.
Present.
Mr. Rodney Charles.
Present.
Ms. Khadija Amin.
Present.
Mr. Rudranath Dar Singh.
Present.
Mr. Nigel De Freitas.
Present.
Dr. Amory Brown.
Present.
Mr. Reginald Amour.
Present.
Mrs. Paula Gopi Schoon.
Present.
Mr. Rohan Sinana.
Present.
Mr. Kazim Hussain.
Present.
Miss Alison West. Mr. Randall Mitchell.
Present.
Ms. Donna Cox. Mr. Hassel Bacchus.
Present.
Mr. Avinash Singh.
Present.
Dr. Muhammad Yunus Ibrahim.
Present.
Mrs. Renuka Sakram Singh Suklal.
Present.
Mrs. Laura Lizamali Singh.
Present.
Mr. Lawrence Hislop.
Present.
Mr. Richie Sukai.
Present.
Mr. Wade Mark.
Present.
Ms. Jolene John.
Present.
Ms. Jayanti Lochmidial.
Present.
Mr. David Naked.
Present.
Mr. Damian Lyder.
Present.
Mr. Anil Roberts.
Present.
Mr. Paul Richards.
Present.
Mr. Anthony Vieira.
Present.
Dr. Varma Dayal Singh.
Present.
Ms. Amrita Deonarain.
Present.
Ms. Sharice Sipasad. Mr. Deorup Timal.
Present.
Mrs. Hazel Thompson Ahi.
Present.
Dr. Maria Dillon Remy.
Present.
Mr. Evans Welsh.
Present.
Honorable members, may I invite you to stand for the prayer of the Electoral College. Almighty God, we give thanks to you, the creator of the universe, and humbly beseech you to direct and prosper the deliberations of the members of this Electoral College here assembled for the advancement of your glory and the trust and welfare of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Grant that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be established among us for all generations. Amen, amen, namaste. Members, may I ask that you remain standing for the singing of the national anthem. Now take your seat. Honorable members of the Electoral College, in accordance with Section 28 of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Constitution, I have convened this meeting of the Electoral College for the purpose of the holding of an election for President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Honorable members, pursuant to Section 26, subsection 2 of the Constitution, the date of the election for President was published in the Trinidad and Tobago Gazette, Volume 61, Number 225 of Friday, December 23rd, 2022. Section 30 of the Constitution provides that a person shall not be a candidate for election as President unless he is nominated for election by an election paper which A, is signed by him and by 12 or more members of the House of Representatives, and B, is delivered to the Speaker at least 7 days before the election. In addition, Regulation 4 of the Electoral College Regulations 1976, the regulations, requires each candidate for election to be nominated by a nomination paper, which must state the full name and address of the candidate and his proposers, the occupation of the candidate, and the constituencies represented by his proposers. Honorable members, I am to advise that at the close of nomination on Tuesday, January 10th, 2023, I received valid nomination papers for 2 candidates in accordance with Section 30 of the Constitution and Regulation 4 of the regulations. I shall now give you details of the nominations. The first nomination received was in the name of Kangaloo Christine Carla. Address, 10 Monrepo Heights, Cascade. Occupation, President of the Senate, Attorney at Law. Those members of the House of Representatives who signed the nomination paper in accordance with Regulation 4 of the regulations are 1. Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley de Gomartin West. Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, Aruka Maloney. Mr. Stuart Young, Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. Mr. Colum Imbert, de Gomartin Northeast. Mrs. Lisa Morris Julian, Dabity O'Meara. Mr. Terence Dialsing, St. Joseph. Mr. Adrian Leons, Laventel East, Mouvant. Mr. Kennedy Richards, Point Forte. Mr. Foster Cummins, La Hoqueta Talparo. Ms. Penelope Beckles, Arima. Mr. Simon de Nobrega, de Gomartin Central. Mr. Keith Scotland, Port of Spain South. Mr. Brian Manning, San Fernando East. Mr. Marvin Gonzalez, Lupino Borneo West. Mr. Stephen McClatchy, La Brea. Ms. Shamfa Kojo, Tobago West. Mr. Roger Monroe, Toco Sandy Grande. Mr. Fitzgerald Hines, Laventil West. Dr. Nyan Gadsby Dolly, St. Anne's East. Mr. Esmond Ford, Tunapuna. Mrs. Ayana Webster Roy, Tobago East. Mr. Faris Alwari, San Fernando West. The declaration of Ms. Christine Carla Kangaloo, according to the nomination paper filed, was as follows. I, Christine Carla Kangaloo, nominated in the foregoing nomination paper, hereby consent to such nomination as candidate for election as President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and name as my address for serving of process and papers under the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the Electoral College Regulations 1976. Address, 10 Monrepo Heights, Cascade. Witness my hand this 9th day of January, 2023, signed, Christine Kangaloo. The second nomination was received in the name of Raja Khan, Israel. Address, 4 Chepstow Road, St. Augustine. Occupation, Attorney at Law. Those members of the House of Representatives who signed the nomination paper in accordance with Regulation 4 of the regulations are 1. Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisessa, SC, Superior. Mr. David Lee, Point-a-Pier. Mr. Barry Padarath, Princestown. Mr. Arnold Ram, Caroni Central. Ms. Khadija Amin, St. Augustine. Mr. Ravi Ratiram, Kuva North. Dr. Rudal Munilal, Urupuch East. Mr. Davendranath Tanku, Urupuch West. Mr. Saddam Hussein, Barataris San Juan. Ms. Vandana Mohit, Chagonas East. Dr. Rishad Sicharan, Caroni East. Dr. Lakram Bodu, Faizabad. The declaration of Mr. Israel Raja Khan, according to the nomination paper filed, was as follows. I, Israel Raja Khan, nominated in the foregoing nomination paper, hereby consent to such nomination as candidate for election as President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and name as my address for serving of process and papers under the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the Electoral College Regulations 1976. Address, 4 Chepstow Road, St. Augustine. Witness my hand this 9th day of January, 2023. Signed, Israel B. Raja Khan. Honorable members, Both nominations are in conformity with Section 30 of the Constitution. And in accordance with Regulation 5 of the regulations, the two candidates are hereby deemed to stand nominated. A poll by secret ballot, pursuant to Section 29 of the Constitution and Regulation 9(1)(a) of the regulations, is therefore required. In accordance with Regulation 8(6) of the regulations, no debate on the merits of a candidate shall be held. However, in accordance with Regulation 8(4) of the regulations, a proposer of each candidate may address the Electoral College on the merits of their candidate for a maximum of 15 minutes. The text of the speech of each proposer has been submitted to and approved by the Speaker of the House. I now call on a proposer from among those who nominated both candidates to address the Electoral College, if they so desire. It is my understanding that Dr. Keith Rowley will speak on behalf of Ms. Christine Kala Kangaloo, and Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, SC, will speak on behalf of Mr. Israel Raja Khan. I now call upon the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to present as candidate for the esteemed position of President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Christine Kala Kangaloo. Mrs. Kangaloo's life has been filled with service to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. A graduate of the University of the West Indies and the Hugh Wooding Law School by way of St. Joseph's Convent, San Fernando, Mrs. Kangaloo qualified in 1983 with honors in law from the University of the West Indies and obtained her legal education certificate from the Hugh Wooding Law School in 1985. From 1985 to 1992, she worked with her father, the late Carlisle Kangaloo, former mayor of the city of San Fernando, in the law firm of C.M. Kangaloo and Company. No doubt inspired by her father's devotion to national service, Mrs. Kangaloo entered the service of the judiciary in 1992 as an assistant registrar of the Supreme Court of Trinidad and Tobago. She served until 1996 in that capacity. As an assistant registrar, she exercised quasi-judicial functions in addition to having to discharge her many administrative responsibilities, which included the oversight of the construction of the Supreme Court building in San Fernando. In his address on the occasion of the ceremonial opening of the 1993-1994 law term, the first and only ceremonial opening of the Supreme Court of Trinidad and Tobago ever to take place in San Fernando, the then Chief Justice, the Honorable Mr. Clinton Bernard, identified Ms. Kangaloo as being among those who contributed in such a way to have resulted in the construction of what he described as, and I quote, a Supreme Court building befitting the majesty of the law and the people of the South, to improve and ensure the business and proper functioning of the administration of justice in this part of the land, unquote. Mrs. Kangaloo's service in the Southland also included her being secretary and then vice president of the Assembly of Southern Lawyers. Following her father's untimely death in 1996, Mrs. Kangaloo returned to the law firm of CM Kangaloo and Company to close off her father's practice. In 1998, Mrs. Kangaloo joined the law firm of Hobson's. Whilst there, she too answered the call to do national service, and she accepted an appointment as an opposition senator in 2001 during the life of the 6th Parliament. From that point on, Mrs. Kangaloo's career was solely about national service, to which she committed herself unreservedly with dedication, humility, and the utmost integrity. In the 8th Parliament, between 2002 and 2007, she was appointed a government senator and minister in the office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for social services delivery. She also served as Minister of Legal Affairs. Under her stewardship in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, the ministry's free birth certificate program captured the Prime Minister's Award for Innovation 2005. She oversaw the mail-in, mail-out service of the Legal Aid and Advisory Heirs to Help campaign. In November 2007, following the general election when she was elected to the House of Representatives as the member for Pointe-a-Pierre, Mrs. Kangaloo was appointed Minister of Science, Technology, and Tertiary Education. After the 2010 elections, Mrs. Kangaloo took a hiatus from public life. Indeed, from 2012 to 2013, she devoted herself to the care and support of her brother Wendell, a senior judge of the Court of Appeal of Trinidad and Tobago, who unfortunately sustained severe and debilitating injuries as a result of a vehicular accident in May 2012, and tragically died a year later in July 2013. Mrs. Christine Kangaloo served this country as President of the Senate of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago from September 23, 2015 to the dissolution of the 11th Parliament in 2020. Again, on August 28, 2020, she was elected President of the Senate in the 12th Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago and served until January 2023, when she resigned following her nomination for election as the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago under the provisions of Chapter 3, Section 24 of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. As President of the Senate, Mrs. Kangaloo has acted as President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on no fewer than 33 occasions. Madam Speaker, it is with a sense of great pride that as Member of Parliament for Diego Martin West, and along with all other members who signed or otherwise endorsed her nomination, that as Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, that I present Mrs. Christine Carla Kangaloo as a most worthy candidate for the consideration of this esteemed electoral college to be elected to the position of President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Speaker, I thank you and my colleagues.
I now call the Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, SC.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Esteemed colleagues of this Electoral College, today we must fulfill a very critical and essential component of our democratic constitution. It is my pleasure, on behalf of the members on our side of the House, to propose a nominee for this illustrious position of President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The position of President of a Republic is not merely a ceremonial role. It serves as a critical guardrail in the defense of our constitutional rights and freedoms. Some of the many duties of a president include the appointment of 9 independent senators, the appointment of the Chief Justice, the appointment of members of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, the appointment of members to the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, and that commission appoints judges and magistrates. And of course, the President also appoints members of several service commissions, chief among those the Police Service Commission. And so, citizens of our nation expect and require that the President will perform his or her duties in the interest of all citizens, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, or political affiliation. The members on this side of the House believe that our nominee, Mr. Israel B. Raja Khan, Senior Counsel, publicly known as Israel Khan, embodies the requirements and qualities which are necessary for this very distinguished office. He is fair and fearless, fiercely independent, and strong-willed. He possesses the qualities of merit, ability, and integrity which are needed to effectively perform the numerous and onerous duties of the President of our beloved country. And definitely, he is not a yes, Mr. Prime Minister, or yes, Miss Prime Minister person. I would like to present to this House then, this Electoral College, Mr. Raja Khan's personal and professional background. Too numerous to mention in the time allotted, so I will give some of his background. Mr. Khan, Senior Counsel, is head of chambers located just a few steps away from this House, and he established those chambers in 1979. Mr. Khan was born in Port of Spain in 1945. He attended the University of Toronto, where in 1974 he obtained a first-class honors degree, majoring in political science. He then attended the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill and thereafter the Hugh Wooden Law School, and was called to the bar in 1979. In December 2000, Mr. Khan was awarded the distinguished title of Senior Counsel. He taught at the Cipriani Labour College, and he has been teaching at the Hugh Wooden Law School for the past 36 years to the present day. He's a devoted family man. He's married to Patricia Khan, who was a teacher at St. Joseph's Convent, St. Joseph, for 31 years. He has 4 children, James, Daniel, Brian, and Shalimar. For 43 years, Mr. Khan, Counsel, has devoted his law practice to defending the rights and freedoms of all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. With his unprecedented success in his practice as a trial lawyer, he has distinguished himself as one of the most decorated advocates of the criminal bar of Trinidad and Tobago. He is well known as a fiercely independent person, not only amongst his peers in the legal profession, but throughout our entire country. In addition to his unprecedented success as a trial lawyer, he has authored a book, Scales of Justice, 1993, and he has published numerous legal articles, one of which is entitled Party and Government. The Prime Minister, his role, political leadership, and cabinet collective responsibility. In his devotion to public service, Mr. Khan served as Commissioner of the Law Reform Commission from 1998 to 2015. From 1988 to 1991, he was a legal advisor to the National Crime Commission. From 2000 to 2003 and 2013 to 2015, he was Director Chairman of the Legal Aid and Advisory Authority. From 2011 to 2015, he served as chairman of the Police Protective Compensation Committee. From 2012 to 2015, he was the chairman of the Firearms Appeal Board. During that time, he was also the senior legal advisor to the National Land Tenants and Ratepayers Association. Currently, Mr. Khan is the president of the Criminal Bar Association. In his service to the cultural development of TNT, Mr. Khan fought to have the wearing of a formal Nehru suit allowed in court. In 2005, Mr. Khan had been excluded from addressing the court and represented his client because he was wearing a formal Nehru suit, which was deemed by the then presiding magistrate to be undignified and unacceptable. Mr. Khan challenged this decision up to the Court of Appeal, which then gave judgment in his favor, thus ensuring that the Nehru suit, a symbol of part of our cultural heritage, would be considered equal to the traditional Western suit. This struggle and ultimate success was recognized in him being awarded the very prestigious Gopio Award. Esteemed colleagues, it is evident Mr. Khan, Senior Counsel, is a true patriot of our republic and servant of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Given his dedication to this country's development, his track record of always answering the calls of national duty, and his lifelong commitment to making TNT a better nation, it is our respectful view that he will offer credibility, integrity, and loyal service to the people of our republic through the office of the President. Given the significant issues facing our nation, and given the need to move forward as a united nation, Mr. Israel Raja Khan, Senior Counsel, is in our view the best person at this time to serve as the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I call on members of this esteemed Electoral College to place country before party, to place people before politics, and to place the Constitution before personal agendas as we aim to preserve the sacred independence of the office of President. My dear colleagues, I urge you to make the decision and cast your vote in favor of Israel B. Raja Khan, Senior Counsel. History will not absolve you if you do otherwise. Madam Chairperson, I so move the nomination of Mr. Israel Raja Khan. I thank you very much.
Honorable members, the poll will be conducted in the following manner. The clerk of the House will call your names in alphabetical order to cast your ballot. In your presence, the clerk will initial the ballot paper, which you will be given, thereby validating it. The clerk will demonstrate to you how to fold your ballot paper in such a manner that only her initials will be visible. The voting booth is located to the back of the Speaker's chair. You will enter the voting booth by way of the entrance to my right. In the booth, you will find an X stamp, which you will use to place an X in the space provided on the right-hand side of the name of the candidate of your choice on your ballot paper. Please note that Regulation 12(3) of the regulations requires an X to be made. Once you have finished voting, please fold your ballot paper so that the initials of the clerk can be seen without opening the ballot. You shall exit the booth to my left. You will then return to the table of the House and show the initials of the clerk to her without opening the ballot paper before depositing it into the ballot box. Should you spoil your ballot paper in any manner, please return it to the clerk, who will issue another. Regulation 17(2) of the regulations provides that in counting the votes, the clerk shall reject all ballots, 1, that are on ballot papers that have not been supplied by her, 2, that have not been marked for any candidate or have not been marked in the manner prescribed by the regulations, 3, on which votes have been given for more than one candidate, 4, where it cannot be established for whom the member has voted, and 5, upon which there is any writing or mark by which the member can be identified. Honorable members, I now formally declare voting open and hand over the proceedings to the Clerk of the House, and in so doing, hand over to her a book of 100 ballots with the names of both candidates and the key to the ballot box. Please open the box. Members, I am satisfied that there is no material in the box. However, should any member wish to examine the box before it is locked, please feel free to come forward and do so now. I will now lock the box, and it shall remain so locked until the end of balloting. Thank you. Voting will now begin.
Al-Rawi Faris. Amin Khadija. Anissa George Bridget. Amor Reginald. Bacchus Hassel. Beckles Penelope. Benjamin Michel. Budol Lakram. Brown Amory, Charles Rodney, Cox Donna, Kojo Shamfa, Cummins Foster, De Freitas Nigel, Dinobrega Simon, Deonarain Amrita, Dial Singh Terence, Dial Singh Farmer, Dylan Remy Maria, Senator. Ford Esmond. Gadsby Dolly Nayan. Gonzalez Marvin. Gopiskun Paula. Haynes Anita. Heinz Fitzgerald. Hislop Lawrence. Hussein Kazim. Saddam. Ibrahim Muhammad Yunus. Imbert Colm. Indar Singh Rujanat, John Julien, Lee David, Leons Adrian, Nizamali Singh Laurel, Lakshmidia Jayanti, Lyda Damien, Manning Brian, Mark Weed, McClatchy Stephen, Mitchell Randall, Mohit Vandana, Roger. Munilal Rudel. Morris Julian Lisa. Nakid David. Pidarath Barry. Pari Rushton. Welcome, sir. Prasad Bisesa Kamla. Ragbir Rai. Ram Arnold. Rambali Dinesh. Ratiram Ravi. Welcome. Richards Kennedy. Thank you. Richards Paul. Roberts Anil. Robinson Regis Camille. Rowley Keith. Sagram Singh Suklal Renuka. Scotland Keith. C. Prasad Sharice. Sinanan Rohan. Singh Avinash. Sukai Rishi. Tanku Devendranath. Timal Derup. Thompson Ahi Hazel. Vera Anthony. Webster Roy Ayana. Welch Evans. West Allison. Young Stewart.
Honorable members, before I formally announce the closing of the poll, I request any member present who is properly accredited and who is desirous of voting and has not had the opportunity to vote to so indicate. There being no such indication, I now formally announce the close of the poll in accordance with Regulation 16 of the regulations. Pursuant to Regulation 17(1)(e) of the regulations, one proposer of each of the candidates is now invited to sit with the clerk as a scrutineer to count the votes. I understand that Mrs. Lisa Morris-Julian, MP, is willing to do so with respect to Ms. Christine Carla Kangaloo, and Mr. Davindranath Tanku, MP, is willing to do so with respect to Mr. Israel Raja Khan. Please come forward.
Spoiled ballot. It's a spoiled ballot. I cannot ascertain. So it's rejected.
Can you speak up, please?
We're not hearing you. Kangaloo. 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 Yes, but it was clearly in, yeah. No, it's not a rejected ballot now. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. 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 Rejected ballot. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. See me understand, I'm too old for this. Kangaloo. Kangaloo. Spoiled, rejected ballot, sorry. Kangaloo. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. 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 Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. 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 Raja Khan. Raja Khan. Kangaloo. Madam Speaker. Now we check the ballots in each container, as well as the ballots in the rejected container. Okay? Mr. Tanku? So now I will empty first the ballots in the container marked Kangaloo. One, 2, 3. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. That one. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Anybody wants to double check them? Count the ballots for Raja Khan. Ready, Mr. Tanku? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Anybody else want to come in? I got 21. Mm-hmm. And there are 3 rejected ballots.
Honorable members, Section 31(1) of the Constitution provides that a candidate who is unopposed or who has obtained the greatest number of the votes cast shall be declared elected. Accordingly, I hereby declare that Ms. Christine Carla Kangaloo has obtained the greater number of votes cast. And as such is elected as the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. This shall be for a 5-year term as set out in Section 33(1) of the Constitution. Honorable members, an instrument duly signed and sealed by me as Speaker, certifying the election of Ms. Christine Carla Kangaloo as President in consequence of the ballot, shall be issued to Ms. Christine Carla Kangaloo, President-elect, pursuant to Section 32(1)(b) of the Constitution. The Constitution further provides in Section 37(1) that a President shall, before entering upon the duties of his office, take and subscribe the oath of office set out in the first schedule, such oath being administered by the Chief Justice or such other judge as may be designated by the Chief Justice. On behalf of the members of this Electoral College, I take the opportunity to extend congratulations to Ms. Christine Carla Kangaloo on her election to the esteemed office of President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We wish her a successful term. To the outgoing President, Her Excellency Paula May Weeks, ORTT, I thank her for her service to Trinidad and Tobago and convey very best wishes to Her Excellency. May Her Excellency enjoy good health, long life, and God's richest blessings. I now invite the coordinator of the Independents to make remarks on the occasion of the election of the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. It is my distinct honor to bring congratulations on behalf of the members of the independent bench to President-elect Christine Carla Kangaloo in being elected by this Electoral College to the post of President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. President-elect Christine Carla Kangaloo's display of dignity, respect, temperance, patience, and compassion during her tenure as President of the Senate. These attributes will no doubt be brought to bear in her service to Trinidad and Tobago as head of state. We again congratulate President-elect Christine Kangaloo and wish her all the best for a successful tenure as President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I also would like to convey our deepest appreciation, gratitude, and thanks to Her Excellency Paula May Weeks, ORTT, President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, for her service and sacrifice to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We wish Her Excellency and her family all the best for peace, safety, prosperity, and happiness in the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I shall now invite the Leader of the Opposition to make remarks on the occasion of the election of Ms. Christine Carla Kangaloo as President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Once it's not more than 5 minutes, you can make it there.
Much. I join with my colleagues in taking note of this electoral process, and I serve notice that the opposition would hold that office to scrutiny in the best interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
I now invite the Prime Minister to make remarks on the occasion.
Madam Speaker, it is with pleasure that I stand to acknowledge on behalf of my constituents, my colleagues, all in this electoral college, that we in Trinidad and Tobago can say without fear of contradiction that our well-written constitution has functioned seamlessly. Madam Speaker, we were called to duty under the provisions of the relevant sections of our Constitution to elect a head of state. And today we did so smoothly, dutifully, and I bless you. Madam Speaker, public service is honorable. And it's in that vein that I today would like to congratulate the citizens, both who put their names forward to be considered for this post of President of Trinidad and Tobago. It was an electoral process, and Madam Speaker, we can still be proud, not knowing of a better way to do it. And out of that process, Madam Speaker, this chamber, by clear majority, has chosen a distinguished daughter of Trinidad. I would like to ask all citizens to acknowledge this plus in the scorecard of Trinidad and Tobago, because there are many others who are bigger than us, taller than us, wider than us, who have great difficulty in being able to carry out such a process so smoothly and so successfully. So on behalf of all of us, people of Trinidad and Tobago, who have just elected a president as our head of state, let us go forward thinking positively. Whatever religion, race, color, creed, class, or geographical location, accept what has been bequeathed to us, the provisions and protections of our Constitution, going outward and upward with boundless faith in our destiny. I would like to congratulate Mrs. Christine Carla Kangaloo and to thank her family for presenting her to the nation to provide the service that she would provide. Madam Speaker, I am not one of those politicians and parliamentarians who believe that because the adjective politics, politician, the noun, can be ascribed to you, that it is demeaning. I think it is honorable, Madam Speaker. And today, this House has conducted itself honorably. And may the President serve all of us without fear or favor, without malice or ill will, for the benefit of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Member for Ruka Maloney.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Electoral College be now adjourned sine die.
Honourable members, the question is that this meeting of the Electoral College be adjourned sine die. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against? I think the ayes have it. This meeting of the Electoral College is now adjourned sine die.
You're watching CNC3.
Televisa presenta